This is the third video about this 1957 Bolens. So far I had the engine off to clean the points, changed the fuel tank, and then took the carburetor apart to clean it. If you want to see any of that, watch the previous two videos. The last thing that happened was I put all the parts in the carburetor cleaner, except for that float pin. Well, it's been a little over a half hour, so I'm going to take a look. The float's cleaner than it was, but it could use a little more. And the same with this body. Everything else looks pretty good. So I'm going to put those back in for a while. It's been a little over an hour this time. That float's pretty clean. That's pretty impressive. The body turned out pretty good. There's still some down in the hard to reach areas, so I'm going to use this spray carburetor cleaner, and I'm going to blow out the passages with compressed air. There's some holes going through the side of this tube here, and you want to make sure you can see all the way through them. And there's a small hole down at the tip. You can't see through it, but you want to make sure it's clear. I can't see all the way through one of these side holes, so I'm going to get a wire brush. If you use a stray bristle on your wire brush, that's small enough to go through those holes on the side. And yep, there was something in that one. So I got those cleaned out. Here's the float pin that got lost for a little bit. Found it when I went to empty the pan. Your main jet's down in this hole here, so you should be able to see through it if your main adjustment screw's not in there. The needle valve looks good and clean. It fits into this Y-shaped feature on the float. So I should be able to put this together and slide the pin in there. The float level looks like it's a little high. Seems a little loose. Might be because that pin fell out. Yep, the float level's a little high. So I need to get in there and bend this tab up. That's pretty close. It's a little bit low now, so I'm going to squeeze down on the float a little bit and flex it. That looks pretty good. The point is, you're trying to make the float parallel to the casting when you hold it upside down. When you put your bowl on there, it should not be touching in the middle where the hole is yet until you push down right there. That's what holds the bowl up against the gasket. So if your bowl touches in the middle first, your bowl's probably deformed and you need to flatten out the bottom. When you get your bowl on there good, you should hear the float move around there when you move it to verify it's not bound up. You can test it by blowing in the fuel inlet. If you hold it right side up, you should be able to blow air through it. And if it's upside down, the valve would be closed and you should not be able to blow through it. That's about it. Need to put the screws in here. Yeah, I want to clean up the face of this one first so I can read those letters. I'm going to clean it with this Scotch-Brite, just enough so I can read it. For the idle screw, I turn it in until I feel it stop and back out one turn. For the main screw, I'm going to turn it in until it stops and back out 1 1/4 turns. Well, I think I'm ready to try this. I'm going to make sure I tighten the spark plug. I got a screwdriver laying here to fiddle with the carburetor once it starts. I got in the habit of tapping on the float bowl, just in case once in a while it might free up the float if it's stuck. The engine's cold, so I'm going to put the choke on all the way. And I'm going to move the speed control up slowly until I see the throttle arm on the carburetor just reach the full throttle position. If everything's working right, the governor should bring the throttle back to a reasonable speed when it starts. If it does start, I'm going to move the choke lever back to halfway. When I take the choke off, the engine dies. So it's running lean, not getting enough gas. I'm going to start opening up the screws a little bit, mostly the main jet. That's good there. The choke's fully open, and it sounds good. Now I'm going to bring it down slowly. Hopefully it don't die. And I'm going to mess with the idle screw. If you open up your idle screw a bit and start closing it slowly, you should find a spot where the engine just starts to slow down. So that's where I leave it to get started. To adjust the main jet, you want to bring your engine up to a reasonable speed. Turn the screw in until it just starts slowing down. And I turn the screw out until it just starts slowing down. And then I move it back to the spot that's halfway between those two positions. And that's a good place to start. That was kind of interesting. The camera died right when I pushed the button there. So now I'm back in the garage, going to put some more of the pieces back on. That was a pretty successful test drive. I got me some screws for this, but my local hardware store don't carry slotted screws anymore. Had to get a Phillips head. So now I have to special order slotted screws to have on hand for that. That's an oil bath air cleaner, so I need to have some oil in it. I don't see a full mark on this cup here, so maybe you go by that line there. That's what I'm going to use. So I'll try to fill it up that far. Might have too much in there. Yeah, that's too high. I'm gonna dump a little out. Okay, I'm going with that. This hood here has a screw missing on each side, and the screws that are there don't match. It's got some Phillips here. This one looks like it could be original. So I'm going to put some new slotted screws in all of them. Well, that hole's stripped out. This one over here feels okay. That screw wasn't original either. Look how long it is. Alright, I'm going to put a nut behind this one over here. I'm going to take this off of here. Nothing against IH, but I'm trying to go for the original look here. That's got some gooey stuff behind it. Don't know what that is. I'm going to see what carburetor cleaner does to it. Seems like it softens up the surface a little bit. Trying to not take off the green paint still. I think I'll just try to smear it off here with a rag. Maybe get the last little bit with carburetor cleaner. There's two studs in the back of the hood. They go into some holes in the fuel tank flange. And there's a few screws in the front bracket. I'm going to go ahead and put the nuts on here. Yeah, that doesn't line up too well. I think this bracket may be bent. So I'm going to take it back off again and take a look at the bracket. There's what I'm looking at. The back of the hood is where it's supposed to be, but in the front there's a big gap here. So I'm going to bend this metal bracket forward so it fits better. I'm going to measure how far the bracket is from the block. And it looks like I want to bring it out about 1/4 inch from where it's at. These old monkey wrenches are perfect for this kind of thing. The jaws stay parallel as they move, and the handle sticks out 90 degrees from the jaws, so you can get good leverage on it. That looks about right. I need to make sure that bolt's tight when I'm done here. There's a problem now. If I hook the grill under that lower bracket, the studs don't reach the fuel tank holes. And if I put the studs in the fuel tank holes first, I can't hook the grill over the lower bracket. So I'm going to loosen up this lower bracket and let it move around a little bit. Time for a test drive again. Looks better this time with the hood on it and all. I made a new starter rope and it'll stay with the tractor. It's got an old wooden handle on it. I think it was a plunger handle. Well, that's pretty nice. It's got a few minor issues I still want to deal with. It was popping a little bit. That could be an ignition timing thing. Or it could be this muffler's blown out. You can see the big hole there. I want to cut that front trailer ball off. It's been welded on there, but I'm going for the original look. Alright, that's it.